Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Bad for Baseball, presented to you by Betway, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet. We are in the thick of the offseason right now, everybody. We've already seen a flurry of big-time moves go down in those winter meetings last week, and now it kind of feels like we're in that other lull period where we're waiting for a couple more dominoes to fall before the second wave of free agents start signing and a bunch more trades start happening. And of course, you know these guys are going to make it happen right on Christmas time, and we're going to have to drop what we're doing and cover it. It's okay. We still love our jobs. We will bring you that content, folks. But in this episode, we're going to be looking at some of those dominoes that need to fall right now. What's going on with Corbin Burns? What's going on with the Houston Astros? What's transpiring with the New York Yankees? They are looking to do some big-time stuff right now. So we're going to get into all of that and more in this one. First things first, though, Adam. How's it going, man?
Happy Victory Monday.
That's
all I got to say right now.
That's
Cardinals win. The playoff hopes are not dead yet. The Packers win. You look like you got, what, you got 10 wins now?
10 wins on the season.
You're going to get 11 when you beat the Saints.
Should be 11.
Easy peasy.
W of a season. What I said at the beginning of this season, all right, I don't want to get too far off topic here, for those, but for those NFL lovers out there, I was saying, all right, you know what? You come into this season, if you win 11 games, then that's a beautiful next step from the season that transpired the year prior, and it does look like we are almost a lock to do that.
I said if you won 7 games, that would be a beautiful step from the season that just transpired, and they did that.
There you go.
There we go. We're on pace.
All in part, it's like, things are getting done right now, and we're feeling good about our squads.
We are. But
let's transition to baseball and talk about how some other squads are feeling about themselves. I know that we had the big-time news that went down with the Yankees and everything like that, and Soto and all that shit. And I've been really relishing all of this with the Hal Steinbrenner quotes that are coming out and some of the information that's coming to light about why Juan Soto inevitably decided to pick the New York Mets over the New York Yankees. I mean, we're talking about a team that just went to the World Series that's offering you only $5 million less than what the Mets are offering. But it sounded like actually didn't have that much to do about money, but maybe something to do about respect.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when you're Juan Soto, what is $5 million really? I mean, I could make up $5 million in endorsements just like that. No problem, right? What's really important to Juan Soto, we've been talking all offseason. It's the money. It's the winning culture. It's the team. How many people were talking about family? How many people were talking about, like, his respect for the family, right? Not a lot of people were talking about that. And, yes, there was $5 million more to go to the Mets who didn't go to the World Series, but they were very helpful in helping Juan Soto get his family accustomed. And one of the reasons for that is they got him his own suite. They got him his own suite that his family could stay at and watch all his baseball games. And when Soto brought that up to the Yankees saying, I want to get a suite included in my deal, they were like, no, F you, buddy, essentially. Here's the quote that was paraphrased by, I think it was Bill Madden right here. Bill Madden from Daily News, he reported that Hal Steinbrenner said something to the effect of, we're going to pay you $760 million, and you can't afford to pay for your own suite? We don't give away suites, which range from $600,000 to $1 million at Yankee Stadium. And obviously, Steinbrenner also mentioned that, Judge didn't even get his own suite. Jeter didn't even get his own suite. They had to pay for it, so we're not going to pay you your suite. Well, if it comes down to that, it's not about money here, guys. It's about respect. It's about providing my family with a place to stay. And obviously, he got security with the Mets, with his family. So if it came down to that, then the Yankees screwed the pooch.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, I do understand Hal's point. We are giving you $760 million.
Right.
Like, this is legitimately just a drop in a bucket for you.
Yeah.
And I do think that for the Yankees, like, you got to understand what is important, what's really important to these teams, all right? Yeah, money is important and whatever, but for the Yankees especially, they have a sense of pride. They have a sense of history with them. I mean, they got their stupid no facial hair rule. They got a bunch of other, like, dumb, stupid rules that, like, they want to live by. But that's important to them, right? And for them, well, if Derek Jeter, the captain, never got it, and now the current captain, Aaron Judge, didn't get it, then we can't, like, for them, that is the sticking point, you know? Like, they can't go further than that just because they decide to pride themselves with having all of these historical whatever. And in this particular instance, I mean, you can argue whether or not they should or shouldn't have, but in this particular instance, it came back to bite them. And for Steve Cohen and the New York Mets, well, what's important to them? I mean, for them, they just need to get out of the hell that the New York Mets have been in for the past, you know, however long they've been in existence, right? They want to win ball games. For the Yankees, it's about the history. They don't give a fuck, though, when it comes to giving away a suite or two.
Yeah, see, if I'm a Yankees fan and if this was the final straw, we don't know if this was everything, right? There could have been other reasons. But if this was the final straw of like, well, I'm not going back to the Yankees because they're not giving me what I need for my family, I'd be like, bro, Yankees, as a Yankees fan, you got to swallow your pride right here, and you got to move on from your dumb history. Like, I get it. You have 30 retired jerseys up on your wall. What is Juan Soto to you? But that's the exact point. Juan Soto felt like just another guy, whereas when he goes to the Mets, he's feeling like, you know, taken care of, and that's a big difference right there. And that's what's important to him is if he's getting taken care of, he knows his family's getting taken care of, and in the end of the day, that beats money over everything.
I get that. I do get that. I mean, I think it's from a Yankee standpoint, like it's one of those slippery slopes type things, right? Because, you know, okay, well, you give an inch in this regard. Well, you know that as the Yankees, you're going to be in on every big time free agent, right? And yeah, okay, like Gleyber Torres isn't going to get his own fucking suite,
right.
But next year when Guerrero's a free agent, and you're inevitably in the conversations for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and you just gave out a suite to Juan Soto. Yeah. Well, now Guerrero is asking for one too. And it's like, okay, well, we just gave one to Soto, so now we have to give one to Guerrero when we're trying to sign him. Right. And then, you know, the following year when you're in on the next big guy, well, we got to give a suite to that guy. Eventually, there's no more suites, right? And then, you know, a couple years later, well, you know, whoever it is, let's say it's Vladdy again. Well, now Vladdy's saying, well, I'll come here, but you got to let me have my beard. Right, and now it's like, now, like, right? So I think from the Yankee standpoint, it honestly, like, to them, like, it felt like that was the slippery slope, and we learned where for them, you can't go any further. They got to $760 million, but the final straw here wasn't about the $600,000 that they would have lost for the suite. It was about the idea of giving away the suite in general.
I think you got to build more suites.
That could be it. You know?
I was just thinking, like, free agents, especially ones that have really nice beards. Like, I'm thinking about Teoscar Hernandez. You know, I've seen photos of him go to the Yankees and having just a mustache. I'm like, that's horrendous. I've seen ones of Vladdy being clean shaved, and that's horrendous. I think if you got a beard and you want to go play for the Yankees, you got to demand to get rid of the beard policy, and then we'll see what they say then.
I think, honestly, I think that they would stick with the facial hair. I think that they would. Or, like, the no facial hair.
The no facial, exactly. I just want to, like, just imagine every free agent starts demanding things from the Yankees. Like, no, we can't. And then they go elsewhere.
Yeah, and that's, listen, like, when you are that way, like, occasionally in very, you know, select situations, it might come back to bite you in the ass. This was one of them. Yeah. Now, I will say that there was a couple other incidents that transpired with Soto. Like, I had heard that there was something with the security guards. And his family, where, like, at one point, like, they had, you know, kicked or left his, like, mother, father, whoever it was, like, outside the stadium, and that had happened in two separate instances, right? So, like, again, like, this isn't just all Hal, and also, I mean, like, that's just kind of shitty because, like, well, I mean, like, who's that security guard? Like, I'm sure, I'm sure that if Soto was like, this guy sucks, Hal would have been like, all right, he's gone. Right. I would imagine, anyways, unless this is like the, you know, long tendered, you know, Yankees, you know, supervisor of security or whatever it is. But,
and then here's the flip side. So that instance happens, and then you got Steve Cohen going, okay, well, we're actually going to provide you your own security. And for a road and away games, or road games and home games, we're going to provide your family with your own security. So they go the opposite. We're not going to have you get kicked out like you were in Yankeeville. You're going to be treated well here in Metsville, you know. And then it's like, that's even better. Yeah, you know, sweetens the deal.
Of course, right? Again, like, it comes down to the fact that there was no limit for Steve Cohen because for them, like there's just no line that he's not willing to cross, right? The Yankees line was, well, we don't want to change our identity of an organization, right? We have certain values that we hold ourselves to, and we're not willing to do that. We're willing to give you the most money that we've ever given anyone. We're willing to give you the most money that anyone's ever given anyone, but we're not willing to, sacrifice our values, our core beliefs, whereas Steve Cohen doesn't have any. Right, for him, it's just like, listen, like I want to win a chip for my team before I die,
and I want to build
his value.
And like you said, he wants to build a winning culture. He wants to build a dynasty, a franchise. I thought it was funny too how in Juan Soto's press conference he was like, yeah, like the Mets have proven that they can win and go deep in the postseason when it's like every other year they miss postseason. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, could be some recency bias involved there. I do think honestly though, like they should be
with him now.
Yeah, exactly.
But they actually need to fix that pitching staff still.
The pitching still needs work, but I believe in Steve Cohen. I believe in like what he's capable of doing. So like I do think that honestly the Mets for the foreseeable future should be a very solid squad.
And there's still guys out there. I mean, Corbin Burns is rumored to go to the Giants, maybe the Blue Jays, the Red Sox. But there's other guys out there. You go get Sean Manaea back. You can go get Jack Flaherty. You could trade for Louis Castillo, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in this podcast. But no, they're a team, and they should be winning as long as you have Juan Soto on the team and Frankie Lindor. They should be a good club.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that division actually, because their division rivals, the Atlanta Braves, were just making a couple of different moves. Braves have been really quiet, and I think that we've forgotten about them just a little bit.
Sure.
Because I mean, they didn't have as strong of a season this year as they have in years past. I think that you can certainly point the finger at some injuries there, but ultimately, it's the Atlanta Braves, and you always just anticipate and expect them to be in the NLCS, and when they're not, it's like, oh, like where the hell are they? Yeah. They went out and they made a move for who was it here?
De La Cruz.
Yeah, literally Brian De La Cruz from the Miami Marlins, picking this guy up, helping to fill their outfield up a little bit. I mean, this is not the be-all and the end-all of baseball transactions that went down here.
No.
This guy had a negative 1.5 WAR. He had an OPS of 654 last year. And it's kind of got some people begging the question of, what are the Atlanta Braves doing, and why aren't we hearing more from them right now, especially after seeing Max Fried up and leave to the New York Yankees a couple days ago?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, wow, like these guys, they got a lot of work to do, because I was thinking about their team last year. I'm like, well, they were severely underperformed. They didn't go as far. Like, they're losing Max Fried. What's going on?
And when you think about that line, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it was Marcell Ozuna,
and then
it was like,
But
who
that's
else?
The thing is, like, you run back this lineup again. Like, let me read through it. You still got Michael Harris at the top. Like, we know how good Michael Harris can be.
Yeah.
Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley. You're going to get back Ronald Acuna Jr. in that mix. Matt Olson. Marcell Ozuna is still very good at his old age. Jared Kelenic. Sean Murphy. Orlando Arcia. That's your lineup. Brian De La Cruz isn't even in this lineup when you got Ronald Acuna Jr. back. So, and they all underperformed, which is weird. And they got to go and they got to get back to the regular performance if they want a chance to be really good next year. But last year, even when they all underperformed, they lost Strider and they lost Acuna. They still made it to the playoffs. They squeaked in for sure, but they still made it. So, no, they're like, honestly, this team doesn't need a lot. Even the rotation is still good after Max Fried left. Chris Sale, you're going to have Spencer Strider, Ronaldo Lopez. Then after that, it gets a little bit questionable. Like, how good is Spencer Schwellenbach going to be? Only 21 games started. Like, it was pretty good, 3.35 ERA. But then after that, like, who's Grant Holmes? What is Ian Anderson going to be? We don't really know. No, I think they're still a good team. I thought they'd be a lot worse. The bullpen's still intact. They just got to run it back. And this whole Brian De La Cruz thing, when I really look at it, it's just a bench bat, really.
Yeah, it is for them especially. Yeah. Like I'm looking at those lineup guys as well right now, and that to me is the key. I mean, like you had a Cy Young winner last year, and I do anticipate that you'll find the pitching somewhere. Like pretty much ever since I've been a baseball fan, the Atlanta Braves, that's been a question. It's like, wow, well, who's in their pitching staff? And then they kind of grow them and they trade for them. And, it's like they just always had it. And I have faith that they're going to. I look at this lineup and, Matt Olson, right? I mean, he had still a solid year with a 790 OPS, but you forget that the season prior, we're talking about a 54 home run guy who had an OPS just shy of 1.
And Matt Olson's always up and down. Like,
always up and down.
This is the up year coming.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, I encourage all of you to go and take a look at his baseball reference page here, folks. It is insane how up and down he is. Like, we're talking about the difference of like 250 OPS points every other year. And last year was the down year, which means that inevitably this year is going to be the up year.
Right.
So look for Matt Olson to go insane mode. In fact, honestly, like, shout out to Betway, bet his overs if you can.
And dude, this was a weird one too, and I'm curious to see what he does next year. But Austin Riley, he was looking like one of the best third basemen in all of baseball.
I remember, and speaking from a fantasy baseball standpoint, like, this is somebody that was getting drafted like late first round, early second round. Like, everyone was high on Austin Riley. Like,
I mean, why wouldn't you be? 3 consecutive years of hitting over 30 home runs, 33, 38, 37.
Yeah.
All OPSs over 800, like upper 800s too. You're like, holy shit, this guy's legit.
Yes.
Hell, one year he batted 303. That's incredible in 160 games. So it's not like it was a short sample size. He was really good. And then last year, all of a sudden, like 783.
That's the thing, man. It just felt like there was something going on in Atlanta. And
it was all Atlanta.
Other than Marcell Ozuna, every single one of these guys, like I had previously to speaking about Matt Olson, I had Ozzie Albies numbers up. I had Michael Harris's numbers up. Like, all these guys just below their career averages.
All below.
All of them, right? Other than Marcell Ozuna, of course, right, who just went insane mode. Right. But, you got to anticipate that these baseball players are going to bounce back, because we know that Riley's good. We know that Harris is good. We know that Matt Olson can, hit home runs at will.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like maybe that loss to Ronald Acuna Jr., like, I don't know, there's something in the clubhouse. It's like the second he goes down, it's like everyone's like, what's going on? What's our identity now?
Right.
Because it just feel like they lost something there.
Well, like, I'm wondering, who's their hitting coach? And did they fire him? Like, what's going on here? So apparently the 1 year after helping the Rangers win a World Series, Tim Hires is coming home to guide the Braves offense. Okay, so they got a new hitting coach here. There you go.
That didn't help.
No, they got it in this past October.
Oh, this past
October. There you go.
Okay.
So they're fixing the hit. That'd be my first thing. I'm like, why is it all of a sudden we're bad?
Yeah.
You got to go. That's an easy fix for me.
Like, what transpired here to make this? Because we know that these are talented baseball players.
Yeah.
Like, we know that they can do it. Like, let's get somebody in here that can help these guys meet their potential.
I wouldn't be shocked. Like, if the line is lowered on the win total for the Braves this year because of last year, I would be looking at hitting it over, depending on how low it gets.
Well, and I genuinely think as well too, like, that's why I was talking about Matt Olson. Like, he's just such a clear up and down to me. Bet the over on the home runs. Right. Similarly to maybe an Austin Riley as well. Right.
Absolutely.
Take the over on those home runs too. I mean, I know it's going to be scary because obviously they all hit their unders last year, but you look at this team and you think that of course there's got to be some element of bounce back, and especially when Acuna comes back, like, that's just it immediately becomes so dangerous. I do think that they're going to have their work cut out from them from a divisional standpoint, because
now it's so competitive.
The Mets are going to Met, and they're going to keep going and getting more talent. Like, they've still been talked about as getting Pete Alonso. That's a real thing that, like, they could go out and they could do that. And when you think about, like, top 3 punches in the game, right? Like a trio of, it would go Lindor, Soto, Alonso. I mean, fuck, right? Like, that is elite right there. You know? So, like, they're still going to do stuff. The Phillies are obviously still fillying about, and they got a couple years left of their window. What a competitive division it is.
It is. I mean, I almost forget, like, then there's the Marlins in the division, which are
they're
burger.
They're
and then I'm blanking right now on
Nationals?
The Nationals. And, hey, let's not sleep on the Nationals. They do have the number 1 pick. You won't come up next year, of course, or maybe, who knows, who could pull a freaking Paul Skeens. But, they do got number 1 pick. They got a great farm system really starting to bud over there. Yeah. Maybe a little Baltimore Oriole action, and that makes that a little more interesting.
I think that's kind of what it is. Maybe Baltimore Orioles from several years ago, where it's like, it's not there yet.
Right.
But, like, maybe next year or maybe the year following that, like, we're going to be in the mix, boys. So honestly, like, I could see this happening in that division, where it's like when the Phillies start to age out,
right?
then it's kind of like the Nationals are like taking over their spot type of thing. Because I do think like looking at the Braves and the Mets right now, unless something dramatic happens, you just feel like these teams are still good for
they got monster
years to come.
Yeah, and it's like easy fixes. Like for the Braves, it's like, okay, well, you're gonna have Chris Sale eventually age out. You already had Charlie Morton age out. He's a free agent right now. Just go sign a pitcher, and boom, immediately you're back into contention.
You're back there right now. And of course, you do need to be healthy, and they got very unlucky with those 2 big injuries last year. But you got to hope that changes.
I wanted to cycle back because you mentioned Pete Alonso. I wanted to talk about like that whole first baseman market right now and how quiet it is. I mean, you got also in that first base market is Cody Bellinger, and he's not a free agent, of course, but he's right now being talked about like a trade going over to the Yankees. The Cubs were looking to send him over to the Yankees, and I think that right there, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but that right there is holding up that entire first base market. You got Christian Walker, Pete Alonso. They're all waiting right now. And yep, Josh Naylor also in the trade market right now being held up.
Is he actually? Josh Naylor?
Yeah, there's a lot of he's like the secondary first baseman after Cody Bellinger.
I don't think that Cleveland should do that.
I don't think they should either.
And I get it. Worth? I get that Cleveland, because I think that he's a free agent next year.
Right, he is.
And I understand that if you're Cleveland, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, shit, like we can't sign this guy back because we're Cleveland.
Right.
And usually when that's the case, I say, okay, go get your value right now, cash in on some prospects. But also, you were, a couple wins away from going to the World Series, right? So I think that you honestly just need to bite the bullet and be like, all right, we're not going to get him back next year, but let's try to win in 2025.
Right. But it's weird, though, because they just traded away Andres Jimenez, who effectively this year, next year would be cheaper than Naylor, and they had him up for a long time. Naylor is going to get $15 million next season, and they just traded away Jimenez. Do they go all the way and also trade away Josh Naylor and start to retool that way?
Well, I would argue that maybe trading away Jimenez is opening the door to then potentially sign back a Josh Naylor or something
potentially.
Like that. Because again, like you look at Jimenez's contract, it dramatically increases as the years go on, right? So Jimenez was, I think, $10 million this year. $10 million next year,
then $20 million.
Then it turns into like 23 or 24, something like that. So
right.
I don't know. I think that they could be trying to shave off where they can, and then maybe reinvest later down the line.
Potentially, it was because again, like Guardians do.
I know that they don't never to reinvest.
Yeah, like I was even shocked they reinvested into Jose Ramirez. They got a steal of a deal.
That's
probably why they were like, okay, well, if we're gonna reinvest anybody, it's this guy. Whereas like Josh Naylor right now, he's apparently projected. And this is just based on his last few years. $100 million for 5 years.
Yeah,
and is that enough? Is that a guy you're willing to invest in if you are the Cleveland Guardians?
Again, I'm not sure, but I think that I would say assuredly no if they were also paying Andres Jimenez $20 million a year.
Of course.
So I think that, again, I'm not saying that they're going to do it, and I would say probably more times than not, Naylor will hit free agency, and there will be somebody that's going to outbid them
or get traded.
Well, that's the thing. I hope that he doesn't. I hope that the Cleveland Guardians hold their guy right there, just because I think that's a very winnable division, and I know that every part of you is going to want to trade Naylor for value and get some prospects because you're Cleveland and that's the way that you operate. But occasionally you just got to say F it and try to fucking win. When you were that close to the World Series last year, I mean the AL isn't as strong. The AL really isn't as strong. Like there is a pathway for the Guardians to go all the way, but if you're trading away Jimenez and then you also trade away Naylor, it's like.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Man, what if the Guardians were just like, you know what? The ALCS was our World Series.
Yeah, and I don't think so. Usually I advocate for getting value, but in this particular instance, you have a real pathway to win this thing. Stay in.
Well, on that note, I mean, what have the Royals done? They traded for Jonathan India? That's it. I haven't really heard about anything else.
They traded away Brady Singer in that trade.
Yeah, they traded away Brady Singer. They haven't replaced him. Right? Yeah. And they haven't replaced him, and then they also lost Shabin. Was he on? No, he was on the Pirates last year, right?
Yes.
He was on the Pirates. The year before, he was on the Royals. So, yeah, I mean, they're not doing anything. The Twins aren't doing anything. They don't even have any money to spend.
No,
right
I mean,
now.
like, that division is a dead division, and it should be Cleveland's, assuming that they don't, like, again, screw the pooch this offseason and give away all their talent because they can't afford it or anything like that. I could see a reality where Kansas City or Minnesota does a little something, but they just feel like they are also leaving the door wide open right now. So, like, don't shoot yourselves in the foot, I guess is what I'm saying to the Cleveland Guardians.
And like Detroit, we forgot about Detroit going back to the postseason last year, but they haven't done anything either. What have they done so far this offseason? Nothing, right? So, like, no one's doing anything. Only teams that are doing anything right now are the AL East teams.
Big market squads.
Right?
Big market squads.
And the Yankees could get even better if they trade for Cody Bellinger right now. Right now, it's kind of being held. Like, the trade's kind of, a little bit of a gap right now in terms of money.
And like the money and everything. Like, Cody Bellinger is such a weird one, and we've talked about this on our other show, Blue Jays Today, if you guys want to go check that out. But, I mean, I just don't know how you can evaluate Cody Bellinger. I don't know how you do it because the money says on his contract, the money indicates that this is somebody that is going to hit 30-plus home runs for you and could be up there for 100 RBIs and, should be a staple of your offense. But the production doesn't indicate that. No. But the production is also, fluctuating year to year, so he could do that, right? It's like you got this, you got a massive range of outcomes. But the money says he needs to he needs to be in the upper echelon of his outcomes. But because he's Cody Bellinger and it's a fucking slot machine, you don't know what you're going to get. It's just like
gambling.
That's the thing. Like, it's actually so tough to, sell him, and then also so tough to buy him and find what is an even playing ground here, because I just don't know what I would want to give up for him.
Because there's so much risk involved. It's not only just this year, but it's also the next year. You're risking spending if they're if the Cubs don't eat any of his contract, $52.5 million on Cody Bellinger, because there's a player option for 25 the following season. So if he sucks, of course he's going to take that player option.
And that's the thing, right? Like, that's why it's such a dramatic swing, because if you whiff on this, so you trade away some prospects, you get Cody Bellinger in, and if he's bad, well, now he's bad for 2 years because he's picking up his player option. But if he's good, he's only 1 year because he's probably going to opt out, right? So it's like is the risk worth the reward, and then how much are you willing to give up for potentially the reward? It's such a tough one.
It's one of those situations, and I always think back to less different because the contract was bigger, but the Nolan Arenado trade from Rockies over to St. Louis, because Nolan was actually good at baseball, but similar in the way where you have to send me money first to eat up his contract. Like, you got to help me pay for this, and you got to give me something a little bit sweet. Because here's the thing: why are the Cubs getting rid of him? They don't want him.
No,
they don't want to pay for him, and the Yankees know that, or any other team knows that. So if you really want to get rid of him, help me pay for. I'll pay for a little, like half of it or a majority of it, if you help cover the other half, and then it makes me like, okay, this is a little bit better for us, and then maybe you send me a prospect, or I send you like a garbage thing, whatever it is to sweeten the deal, because that's what it's got to take. It's got to make sense for me too.
I know. Like, I genuinely don't know. Sure to all of that. Like, we'll see where they end up on this, but it's because this one is such a difficult one to navigate that it is, getting held up right now, and everybody, all the free agents, of course, they want the Yankees to be on the phone, and they want them to be in their negotiations. So they're going to wait on this, because if you are somebody like a Pete Alonso, well, I mean, if the Yankees are being held up with Cody Bellinger right now, you just don't want to negotiate until you have those guys in the room.
Exactly.
Because that's going to help, bring your market up. They could end up being like a team that is thoroughly looking at you as a first baseman, but you got to wait and see what they do over there. So, I mean, we're all of these like kind of trade rumors and all this different shit right now. That's why you're seeing this lull in free agency, and I do think it's going to be one of those things that either this Bellinger trade happens, or maybe Burns signs somewhere, or there's going to be like another like catalyst that
another
kicks,
domino that
kicks
falls.
everything into everything, and then it's like, okay, now it's another week of a flurry of moves, and then you get kind of like your third lull before other things.
Yeah, like Burns too as well. I didn't think about that because I always think of it as Burns like he is the last top tier kind of guy. But yeah, if I am like Sean Manaea or Jack Flaherty or something like that, it's like, okay, well, I know whoever misses out on Burns, I'm next. And they're going to come to me.
That
right?
should be the case.
And especially the Toronto Blue Jays, I know if I'm willing to play in Canada and play on a losing team, I know I'm going to get paid. So I'll just wait.
Yeah, I do think that's especially the case for somebody like a Flaherty or a Manaea, you think about those guys.
Yeah.
As of right now, folks, the latest on the Corbin Burns updates, it feels good for the San Francisco Giants. However, they're not offering enough money, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of playing this like cat and mouse game where, Corbin Burns, we think, or it's speculation that he wants to go there, and that's like his top choice.
Right.
However, he wants to get more money out of them, and they don't want to pay him more money.
Yeah.
So it's this kind of back and forth cat and mouse game to see when that eventually gets done, or maybe the Toronto Blue Jays come way over the top and give him something that he can't refuse, but looking more likely that from a Blue Jays standpoint, it might be one of those second-tier guys.
Yeah, I know, right? Because, if I'm Burns, like, this is my one shot to get, a contract and to go play where I want for the rest of my career. So I've been in Milwaukee, and let's face it, like, Milwaukee's a good team, but not the sexiest of locations in terms of, San Francisco,
yeah, of course.
Back home where he's from. And then you go to the Baltimore Orioles, and again, same kind of thing, So this is my chance. Do I want to go play in my home state of California, or do I want to make more money and play for the Toronto Blue Jays? What's his values, right? You're talking about Juan Soto's values. What's valuable to him? And right now it feels like it is playing in that state of California.
I would choose San Francisco.
I would choose too.
Listen, I'm
absolutely.
even. What maybe this is insane to say. I'm not sure. I'd have to really think about this. But as a Canadian, as a literal Canadian right now, if I was deciding in today's climate, with everything going on between the San Francisco Giants and the Toronto Blue Jays with where they are as a team, as a Canadian, I might even choose the San Francisco Giants.
Too. Yeah,
because I think that they're just a more complete, put-together organization in what is a very cool city in America. If the money is roughly the same, like, I might choose them over Toronto.
And their window's opening up
exactly,
with a new management, too.
Yeah.
Ours is closing, and again, we're Canada, and it's cold, and like we don't, you know what I mean? Like, and he's not from, I could speak from the perspective of me, being like, well, I'm from Toronto, so I can see the, the advantages.
The
of the
I
great
love
city.
Toronto. Yeah,
it's a great city. It's like New York, but in Canada. But he obviously just wants to go back home.
That's the thing. Like, I honestly, I'm not going to feel any way if they end up winning those sweepstakes. I'd love Corbin Burns to come to the Toronto Blue Jays, and that would be a phenomenal acquisition. But I get it. I do get it. So
I understand.
That's where we're at right now with that. Let's give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, Betway. Everybody, hit your picks, knock it out of the park with Betway, guys. They are the best. And we got a couple lines for you guys. Monday night football, Bears taking on the Minnesota Vikings. I never cheer for the Chicago Bears, and nor should I. But in this particular instance, as they have already been knocked out of playoffs, as it's just a meme, and as the Minnesota Vikings are, still surging right now, I would love to see the Chicago Bears get a win, but the betting lines are indicating that is probably not going to happen.
No, I mean, heavy underdogs are the Bears. You're going to get 3.4 times your money if you bet on the Chicago Bears to win outright tonight, whereas the Vikings, you get 1.33. I mean, there's some interesting spreads. You got plus 6.5 for the Bears to get 1.95. Do they make it close? I don't know. They're also in Minnesota, right? Yeah. So that's another factor there. I actually don't really love the spreads. It's pretty scary, and I don't think the Bears even have a shot to win this game. I really don't. I really don't see it.
I think that they have a shot to win because it is like they've actually been. They came really, really close to beating the Vikings a couple weeks ago.
Right.
They came really, really close to beating the Lions a couple weeks ago too.
Right.
They've come really, really, just really close. and just not gotten over the finish line. So honestly, maybe the Bears spread is the play because of all of that in a divisional game. But it is obviously extremely scary betting on the Chicago Bears to do anything other than fuck it up.
Yeah.
So you know what? In this one, I don't know if I have a strong pick for any of you guys. Maybe you have one.
Right.
But I say, like, go with your gut.
Honestly, maybe, Bears 6.5. Maybe it's close.
That's the thing, right?
They've
been really, really close in a lot of games, and I think they have been covering. So credit where credit is due. They just can't seem to get over the finish line right there.
Right.
I would love it if they could find a way to claw out a win here, just because my Green Bay Packers would appreciate that and potentially going and moving up in the wild card standings. But I mean, this does feel pretty good to be Vikings.
Right, absolutely, guys. Okay, so check out Betway, guys. Click the link in the details section to join the action. Available in Ontario. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Let's talk about one more team here, and this is a very, very interesting team at this point. Once World Series champions twice in the past decade. Now, where are they going? What is their future looking like? It's starting to close. Speaking of the window for the Houston Astros, they traded away Kyle Tucker. He's gone. He is a Chicago Cub, which, by the way, what the hell are you guys doing, Cubs? That's a whole other conversation.
You know what? No. I kind of like it. I kind of like it because they're trying to get rid of Cody Bellinger. They're trying to bring in Kyle Tucker right now.
And they got rid of Isaac Paredes.
Yeah. But listen, Kyle Tucker's a special talent. You lock him up to an extension. I think you're feeling really good.
That's the thing. You got to lock him up to extension. But honestly, if I'm Kyle Tucker, I'm hitting free agency.
Probably. But you know what? The Cubs, like, their division as well. I don't want to get too far off topic here, but their division as well, not great. There is ways to go and win that thing. I don't hate it.
For me, it's like, where is your lineup looks fucking awesome right now. Like, you got Ian Happ, Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki. There is Cody Bellinger here, but is he going to get traded? I don't know. Honestly, you just keep Cody Bellinger at this point if you're really trying to go for it. Let's be realistic, right? Just pay for him. Dansby Swanson, Michael Bush, Nico Horner. That's actually looking very, very good.
It's not bad.
But why are you trading away Cody Bellinger? Just keep him. Like, roll the dice. You know what I mean?
It's a lot of money.
That's the thing. Is like, well, are you trying to win or are you trying to save money? That's the thing.
Well,
you can't really do both. You know, you gotta.
I know. That's the thing. It really is. You know, one or the other.
Because trading for Kyle Tucker says, I want to win. But you're trading away Cody Bellinger. So I don't know. Anyway, that's a totally other thing. But, I mean, hey, they have a good pitching staff. They got to fix that bullpen, though. That's a mess.
Exactly, right. But
going back to the Houston Astros, like, they right now are at a position where they've already lost Kyle Tucker. They don't have Alex Bregman right now. So what are they going to do? There's rumors out there that they're looking to trade for Nolan Arenado, and I guess that's a start to fill up the third base bag, but he's definitely no Alex Bregman. And looking at their lineup right now, honestly, yikes, guys. Like Jose Altuve, Isaac Paredes, Yordan Alvarez, that's pretty solid. That's a solid top right there. Yainer Diaz starting to drop off just a little bit. Still a solid catcher. Like him a lot. And then it's like John Singleton, Jeremy Pena, Chas McCormick had a terrible year last year. Taylor Trammell, Jake Myers. This is an offense. This is not the offensive juggernaut power of the Houston Astros that we've been seeing.
Oh, I know, yeah.
At all.
It's not the same. It's not the same Houston Astros from years past. And I was having a thought. I was like, well, are we fooling ourselves? Right? Are we looking at this thing and, you know, we're doing this same old, like the Astros, they're cooked at this point, and then they just come out and, you know, blow us out of the water and, you know, win everything again. I don't actually think so, because in years past, I really could convince myself on that lineup. When you had Bregman in there and you had Tucker and, you know, throw back to the days when you even had Carlos Correa and George Springer and all that shit, right? That was an elite lineup. But when you just look at this, you know, from a hitting standpoint, yeah, Jose Altuve is really good, but eventually the age is going to catch up there too.
Yeah, when's that going to happen?
Isaac Paredes, he's solid, but that was a 750 OPS guy last year. Like, that's not the same as a Kyle Tucker. Yordan Alvarez is incredible, and I will always admit that guy is honestly very thoroughly underrated in MLB.
Yeah.
I think he could be a top 5 hitter in the fucking game.
Oh, God,
that
for
guy's
sure.
Incredible. But there's just no one else at his caliber and maybe Jose Altuve, but it just it feels like a very significant fall, very top heavy, and I mean, you were bringing up Singleton right there, Jonathan Singleton. This is somebody that shouldn't be playing in MLB.
Yeah.
He took literally almost a decade off, then came back. He was fine last year, but like just fine. Jeremy Pena had a pretty bad offensive year. Like you said, Chas McCormack kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Taylor Trammell, that guy should not be in MLB. We're assuming that this lineup is going to get filled out more as the offseason progresses, but it feels like the Houston Astros are more content with like giving money away than actively going out and making this team better. I mean, there was rumors that they might even trade away Framber Valdez. Right? Like that, to me, if you trade away Kyle Tucker and you trade away Framber Valdez, that to me is waving the white flag. It's like, all right, guys, we had our dynasty, we had our decade, we won it a couple times, now it's time to save money.
Yeah, and I mean, is that the right move to be making, right? I mean, I do look at the rotation. You got Valdez, Brown, Blanco. I mean, if they keep Valdez, Brown, and Blanco, that's a solid 3 right there. Lance McCullers could be coming back. Javier does have Tommy John. He won't be back next year. So maybe McCullers come back. Maybe you sign a guy. Maybe that rotation starts to look pretty okay. Their bullpen is still very solid, I will say. Hader, Abreu, Presley. There was rumors that they're going to trade Presley, too. Like, what are we doing there? Taylor Scott, Brian King, Caleb Ort, those guys all have sub-3 ERAs. Like, that's solid, right? I actually really love their bullpen. Their pitching staff's very solid. Definitely the lineup, though, it's not the powerhouse lineup. And especially after trading Kyle Tucker, if you're going to trade away more guys or trade for like guys like Nolan Arenado, like you're not really pushing the needle.
Right.
Like, it's definitely not a terrible team. Like, I wouldn't say they're going to be below 500 maybe in any regards if that pitching staff holds up. But is it good enough to command the AL West again?
That's the thing, right? It feels to me like the mentality is shifted, right? And I know that the Astros have never been a crazy spending ball club or anything like that. Right. Like, they have let a lot of these guys, like, you know, their Garrett Coles and their George Springers and their Carlos Graves, they've let a lot of their top-tier talent hit the free agent market and leave. And they've been okay with that, and they've still gone on to win World Series after those guys, right? So I know that they're like that, but it does feel like there is a bit of a mentality shift where maybe, like, the energy to go out and to get better is leaving them,
right.
And that's speculation on my part, but that is just what it feels like when you look at some of the moves and when you do trade away a guy as good as Kyle Tucker. If you were serious about going in on this, you'd keep him for the year, and then you just let him hit free agency after that, right? But trading him away, like, we can all agree that Kyle Tucker is better than Isaac Paredes or better than anybody,
better than most
get
players in the MLB,
exactly, right? So ultimately, like that to me feels like a move where it's like we're planning for the future again. We're kind of retooling, not fully rebuilding, but like a little retool. And I think that it's fine because you've won so much in the past.
Right.
And I think that honestly having a bit of a break to just, gather up all the funds again and finances, that's fine. However, that being said, it kind of sucks that you're doing this in a year when I look at that division and I go, who's good?
That's what I was just looking at,
Who's
man.
good in that division?
Like,
Seattle can't fucking put it together to save their lives. They can't hit a baseball to save their lives, right? Who's good?
Well, maybe that's the thing, because I was just looking at the division and, like, I looked at the only other good team I'd say is the Rangers, because they got a really solid lineup still. I mean, they kind of did Braves and they all of a sudden just got bad. And it's like, how did this
Their
happen?
hangover was hard.
It was hard. Their rotation's all right. I mean, they did sign back Eovaldi. That's nice, but their bullpen is still garbage, right? It is absolutely still garbage. But for the Houston Astros, maybe you're selling this to you. Well, we can do a little bit of a retool because our rotation and our pitching staff is so solid. We think we can handle this AL West, and our lineup is still good enough with Isaac Paredes and Alvarez and Jose Altuve. Maybe we trade for an Arenado, and it's still good enough where we think we can still win the division, still have a run at it. Won't be as good as the past, but we got to trade for a little bit more prospect.
Well,
depth,
I'll
right?
put it this way: I do still think that they could win their division because of the competition in it.
Right.
Because I don't trust in Seattle, and because also, too, by the way, guys, Seattle looking to maybe trade away Luis Castillo. That's a wild thing.
That's also crazy.
Sidebar. But because I don't trust in Seattle and because I don't necessarily trust in the Texas Rangers, it's like, yeah, the door's still open here.
Right.
And I guess time will tell like how this team develops and everything like that. But this to me doesn't look like the World Series Astros of old. And
No.
it feels like right now anyways, the AL or the American League doesn't have a dominant superpower like they did. It was the Astros. It was, from basically like 2016 onwards. It was like Houston Astros for the last decade. They were the team, and they was this dominant superpower. And now it's kind of up in the air, and everybody's like waiting to see who's the next dynasty, who's the next superpower. Over there in the NL, it's the Dodgers, and it's going to be the Dodgers for a while. The Nets are trying to get up there with them, right? But it is the Dodgers.
Yeah.
In the American League, you feel like they have left the door open for somebody else to come onto the throne of the American League.
Right.
And I don't know who it's going to be yet, but I don't think it's going to be this Houston Astros team reclaiming it.
No, and I think that's why you're seeing a really aggressive, AL East right now. When I'm speaking about the Yankees, I'm speaking about the Boston Red Sox. They realize like it's available. I mean, how the Central's like, what is this? Yes, you had the nice run by the Tigers, but you got to go add now. You got to go add, and you're not adding.
There's no team, and especially with the Yankees losing Soto as well, there really is no team that I look at here and I'm like, you guys are so much better than everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, the Guardians were phenomenal last year, and they're looking at trading guys away.
Right.
The Yankees were very, very good. They just lost their second-best player.
Right.
I know that they're making a lot of moves and trying to be good, but yeah, the Houston Astros, they just traded away their maybe best player, but at least second best player. It feels like teams are giving shit away right now. It's like the door is open for a lot of these squads.
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked as of next year, and I know we're slightly off topic, the Houston Astros, but I wouldn't be shocked next year if some team like completely comes out of the woodwork here, and it's it is Detroit that goes to the World Series, or it is the Red Sox that go to the World Series, or some shit, because it does feel like it's just wide open.
It feels like if any team that has developed their prospect system good enough can just go and overtake it. Like out of nowhere. Oh, like you develop a few guys? That's all it takes. Oh, I have a few good breakout guys. Boom. I'm now like a top contender in the AL. It's that easy, right?
It could be, yeah. So,
go ahead. I'll go. But I was just to finish up the whole Kyle Tucker thing. Like, we also forget they like on the topic of retooling, like they're trying to do that, and they've had like a lot of failures in their prospects the last few years, like not really panning out to being like superstars, like Carlos Correa's and George Springer's. Like they have Pena, they're hoping to him to be a really good guy, great defender.
He's good,
but like the bat's not like superstar level, right? You have this guy Cam Smith, who's a former first rounder, and dude in the minor leagues batting over 1,000 OPS. Like, and he's what 21 years old. Like this guy could be a legit dude playing third base for them eventually one day, right? That could be your next Alex Bregman replacement. Then they go get a bullpen guy to get Isaac Paredes. So it's like they're hoping that they have another wave coming up, and they feel like maybe it is. They take a little bit step back, and they could still remain at the top in the next coming years.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know that the Astros can put together a kick-ass prospect. Like they can develop a guy like nobody's business. Right. We've seen it happen time and time again. So I'm not going to claim that the Houston Astros are dead looking at this lineup, looking at what they got. But I am going to claim that they've taken a shot. They're
sure.
It's a wounded team right now.
They got knocked out by the Tigers.
They got knocked out by the Detroit Tigers, and then they followed it up by so far not making any big-time moves and trading away arguably their best or second-best player right there. So, yeah, like they've taken a step back. I'm not saying that they're dead, but I am saying that they're wounded for sure here.
Well, I wanted to give a shout-out to Dana Brown, who is their GM, and you were talking about how they know they can develop prospects. Well, he's relatively new. Like, he's coming in the kind of the latter half of this whole dynasty. And we remember how they traded for Kikuchi, and they traded away 3 prospects.
They did
for Kikuchi, and
Kikuchi was good, but
I mean, imagine if they had like Will Wagner. I'm not trying to gas up these Blue Jay guys, but like they had Will Wagner, maybe a Jake Bloss in the wings, and a little Perfito filling out the lineup. It's like that's a little bit better. I mean, Kikuchi deal really mounted to nothing because they got knocked out by the Tigers.
Exactly,
so it really didn't matter for them. So imagine if they still had a little bit more guys, and hopefully for the Astros fans' sake that Dana Brown can not have this whole roster be run into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, if this is them retooling to come back next year or the years after, like, okay, I see that. It's just questionable right now, and I can understand how it could be trying times right now in Houston if you're an Astros fan. But guys, let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below, everybody. If you haven't already done so, hit that like, smash the subscribe button. Hopefully we get some more news coming soon, everybody. Like I said, it's kind of like this second lull that we're in right now before what I assume is going to be a very busy week once Bellinger's traded and Alonso signs and everything like that. Should be coming very soon.
Hopefully, guys. So, yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Cheers.